Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World Warships, and today I'm showing off the tier 4 British carrier, the H.M.S. Hermes, and we are currently in a tier 5 battle, I believe. Yes, I am actually joined with Formal in the Isuzuki. This is probably one of my better battles that I've had with her. So what's different about the Hermes compared to the IGN or the USN? Well, a couple differences. Major difference, probably many people are well aware, is the carpet bombing they have with the dive bombers, and we will be seeing that a little bit later. Other major difference is also the torpedo planes. Their torpedoes are much shorter range than, say, compared to the USN or the IGN main or CV line. So you do have to drop a lot closer. That is something you really do have to keep in mind. And I don't think, at least with the Hermes, the torpedoes aren't particularly fast. Now, I have taken out the rockets. Honestly, I don't think there's that big of a difference between the rockets on the British line versus the USN line. The dispersion is, or better yet, the form of attack is just like the IGN line. It is vertical and so instead of horizontal. The planes, I think I have a captain that is actually spec'd for increased damage resistance with the rocket planes. Now I did go ahead and pull those guys back because they weren't really doing anything. As you can see, both the DDs are on the western side, and I just figured might as well just try to bring out the torp planes, get them out as quickly as possible. Now, as I did mention, the torpedoes don't go as far as the IGN or the USN line. They only have a 2.4 kilometer range to them. So you do have to get a little bit close, and they do feel like they're slow in the water, because even with a battleship such as like a Koenig, which has a decent speed to it, it still feels like you have to provide significantly just to ensure that your torpedoes actually hit. And as per usual for tier 4, you only have one torpedo plane per squadron, or better yet, per drop. 3 obviously altogether. So give it plenty of lead. Here I don't even give it enough that Omaha is able to dodge it, I believe. You might not. Oh, nope, we actually get a hit. Tier 5, New York. Its AA is a monster. I mean, kind of expect as much. So don't be overly surprised, but definitely can eat up. Unfortunately, I did drop a little bit too close, which is unfortunate, and don't really get a lot of damage there. Now we're going to go ahead and show off the carpet bombing. The carpet bombing is different from the standard bombing that the USN or the IGN have. Obviously, the IGN has armor-piercing bombs, while the USN has HE bombing. The same is for the British. They have HE bombing. The only major difference is the spread and how the planes go in to drop the carpet bombing, as you will see here in a moment. Now, one thing I have noticed, at least with the tier 4, I haven't got quite yet to the tier 6, so I can't really say for anything higher than this, but with the tier 4, it does struggle to actually deal damage with its bombs against battleships. Against cruisers and destroyers, while cruisers are going to be definitely a lot easier to actually hit than, say, a destroyer will be, they're actually able to penetrate through the armor and deal damage. But the most important thing, as I apparently cannot speak right now, is the fact that they cause fire, which is extremely beneficial, and the carpet bombing does a really good job causing fires. You could probably easily get 2 to 3 fires, 1 if you're really unlucky. Now I am going after the Omaha. This Omaha, I'm pretty certain has to have sacrificed something to the RNG gods. Unfortunately, it doesn't show within the replay, but as you can see how it goes in, it's not where the planes go pull up and then dive down to drop off the planes. And yes, I did pull them back because my planes were getting melted. So definitely a lot easier to use the carpet bombing than, say, just the standard bombings that you see with the USN and IGN line, which I think I prefer. It's just a lot easier to deal with. Now, they may not do as much damage, and definitely against battleships, as I did mention, they don't do that much damage against battleships, so you do have to keep that in mind. The only best thing you're really hoping for is just fires with it. Now, going back to the torque planes, they actually seem to have a decent flooding chance, at least kind of what it felt like, compared to even like the Hosho. I think I had a better chance actually dealing flooding with the British carriers than the IGN. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get turned around as quick as I would like. I think this Clemson is possibly going to beach himself. Planes are, I guess, average in speed. Nothing too impressive. Do manage to actually get a hit. There we go. Very nice. Now, I do actually like the look of Hermes. It's compared to, say, the Langley and the Hosho, everything's armored. Like, there's no real open decking. I believe only in the back section, and everything is curved. Speed on the Hermes is decent for a tier 4 carrier. It's, I think, a little bit slower than the IGN line, or almost just as equivalent to. Definitely a lot faster than the Langley. Detect is nothing too impressive. I'm trying to think whether or not this captain actually has concealment expert. I think this is one I'm just trying to work on right now. And going back out to deal with this is Suzuki. Now, our team is actually doing a really good job. We've actually managed to take out both of the destroyers, and now are actually in a somewhat of a lead. Coming in to deal with is Suzuki, and this is Suzuki really must hate me. Truly must hate me because I'm just able to constantly hit him. That's the benefit of a tier 4, especially if you're top tier. You're not going to deal with a lot of AA. As you can see, this Omaha with its fighter can actually deal a fairly substantial amount of damage. And any moment now I should drop, but I don't. And unfortunately, I don't get any damage off of that Omaha, which is really unfortunate because that Omaha is still alive. Keep in mind, that Omaha, I think it was, I believe, one of the first ships I actually dropped. I actually landed a torpedo hit on him. And he's been alive this entire time, and has been fired on by Formal. Now, unfortunately for us, the majority of their team is on the Eastern Front, where we don't really have any, but the enemy team is very slow to really take advantage of this opportunity of pushing into our base, putting that pressure, because right now all they have is an October Revolution, and the New York looks like is heading back as well. Once again, going back in to try to get rid of this Omaha. These two ships are definitely the ships I'm focusing most on. They even have a Congo here. Dispersion, not particularly amazing. Definitely, whenever going in for a carpet bombing, you want to go bow to stern or stern to bow, because if you go off at an angle such as I did, as you can see, dispersion's not particularly amazing. Granted, the Omaha is not a very wide ship, so it's not that, you know, obvious. What am I trying to say? It is obvious that you're not going to land your shells as much as you would like with a very narrow ship. And once again, going back in, I'm trying to get rid of this Omaha right now. Really haven't done that much damage. Really should be probably focusing on the battleships. But, I mean, it's a low health ship. Be definitely a lot easier for me to take it out and allow that Omaha, well, allow our battleships not to destroy it. But once again, this Omaha is considerably lucky to live as long as he has. And keep in mind, he's been showing a lot of broadside nearly constantly, but unfortunately I'm going into essentially all of this, and I believe right about now my cats are doing something and I'm actually not looking at the screen. And yep, lost the majority of all my fighters there, my planes, and didn't really get the opportunity to do actually a good amount of damage. There we go. Omaha is finally dead. Finally dead. Goes down to the October. And we're going to go ahead and continue going away. I think I sat a little bit too long because now the Isuzuki and the Congo are getting relatively close. Now, best target always is the ship with the weakest AA. And keep in mind that Congo hasn't really been hit all that much for the majority of this battle. I think he's just now recently lost about 10,000 points of health there. So Isuzuki is definitely going to be a ship of my focus. It has less AA and is a little bit more susceptible to the flooding that I could potentially cause. So definitely going to focus on that. And once again, you do have to give a little bit more lead, and you can't drop far away as you can with the IGN line. We're going to actually get a hit on the Isuzuki. Honestly, I could allow that Isuzuki to flood for a little while because he does pop his damage control. And keep in mind, flooding has definitely changed compared to what it used to be. Now, different sections of the ships can get flooded, and it does look like he is now currently flooding. And unfortunately, we are actually about to, well, we are currently being detected. I do switch over to my carpet bombers, and we're going to try to get a little bit of flooding right now. Because if you can get flooding on this Suzuki, that's definitely going to stack more dot damage against him, which will prove a little bit more beneficial. And as you can see, it's really starting to take up. This is where you definitely want to focus. This is where you're going to get a lot of your damage, is just doing that dot damage. And just keep in mind whether or not the ships have used their damage control. Do actually get a hit and do get a fire on that Isuzuki, so now he's flooding and he's also on fire. So we're going to try to get around, try to do a bit more damage, but unfortunately he's actually getting a little close to that New York. And our planes are going to really start melting here. I believe, can we get a good hit? There, right there. Non-penetrations, 5. Don't be surprised by this. This is going to be something very common with at least the Hermes. Just not really doing any damage with your bombs. So if you don't get a fire, you're not really going to do much damage against battleships. So do keep that in mind whenever possible. Obviously, switch back to torpedo planes. Going to move my ship a little bit closer to the center. We are starting cap. The Langley, I believe, is now officially dead, so there's actually no real opposition, even if you call it that, because carriers can't really oppose, especially at tier 4. Don't have any fighter capabilities, so going to go ahead and focus on the Isuzuki. More than likely his damage control is off cooldown. Obviously he's no longer flooding. Just trying to get through this AA. And let's see if he can cause a bit more damage. Like I said, this Isuzuki probably doesn't much care for me right now. Been focusing him down more than anything else. Don't know if that actually is going to hit. It does cause a flooding. Let's see if he does repair. It does look like he does repair. Does mean that in about 10 seconds he should be able to actually take another flooding. And this is something you probably really should focus on, is keeping in mind when a ship is flooding. Now once again, flooding isn't as dangerous as it used to be, but in tier 4 match, well, what little health he has is going to go bye-bye very, very quickly. Get another hit, another flooding, and once again, yeah, this Suzuki really doesn't much care for me. Could probably honestly leave him alone, but I really do want to actually ensure that kill. because I have been the one that's done a significant amount of damage against that Uzuzuki. And finally get our very first kill. Now the New York is currently in our cap, and now you're going to see kind of the issue with tier 4s facing off against tier 5. Granted, tier 4 is definitely a bit more protected than other tiers because it does prevent it from going up to tier 6 most times. Get a decent hit on the New York, actually get some penetration, which is actually super nice. Get a fire, does look like he does use his damage comm. Going to try to swing back around, but as you can see, the AA is really starting to tick off the damage. Going to try to get in there as quickly as possible, but unfortunately that's not the case. And we're not going to get any additional fires, but he did use his damage comm, so if you get a torp off on that New York and actually cause flooding, that would be really superb. However, it is a tier 5, it does have a higher mitigation to flooding by torpedoes, so even if I do land a torp, it's no guarantee that we'll actually get a flooding, so we're going to try our very best. At the very least, we're resetting this New York. And fortunately for us, the Congo on the enemy team isn't really doing much. And, well, fortunately we don't get the flooding. And unfortunately for us, we're actually going to be detected here in a moment by the New York. Yep, I realize that I need to be moving. Actually, no, we are being detected by that New York. But even if the New York gets lucky, there's no way that the enemy team can really do anything to win this. So, might as well try to do a little bit more damage. But unfortunately for us, the New York and the October Revolution are going to cap out the enemy team. And I am not going to be able to get in there to try to deal a bit more damage because, well, that's the end of this battle. So, as you can see, we did earn a victory. Decent amount of damage for the tier 4 carriers. Decent for at least the Hermes. This was, I think, my third or so battle with it. 57,452 points of damage, 8 torpedo hits, 18 bomb hits, 3 rocket hits, 1 plane shot down, which is kind of amusing. 1 ship was destroyed, 3 fires, and 5 flooding. We were kind of middle of the team. Basic speed was 812. Most of our damage was against the Uzuzuki at 46,280. We did around 13,400 points of flooding damage, which is really superb, plus 8,785 points of fire damage. Once again, dot damage is significantly where you want to be focusing on, because overall, as far as our main attacking planes, we only did 35,257, so about 2/3 at least came just from getting those torpedo hits and whatnot. But anyways, this is going to be a quick look at the Hermes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zaijen.